and gentlemen, the Middle East war enters day 14 today. The losses are mounting, the theater of conflict is widening, and the cost of war is spiraling out of control. Over 2,000 people have been killed across at least 10 countries now, directly drawn into this conflict. According to the Pentagon, the first week alone cost the United States over $11.3 billion, with at least 11 American soldiers killed so far. The latest casualties come as U.S. refueling aircraft went down in western Iraq, killing 4 out of the 6 crew members on board. And yet, neither side is backing down just yet. Iran has now launched the 41st wave of Operation True Promise, targeting Tel Aviv, southern Israel and U.S. military positions across the Middle East, including Dubai. Tehran says this latest wave is dedicated to the Ramzan war martyrs and comes as Iran marks Quds Day, the last Friday of the holy month, observed in solidarity with Palestine. Thousands gathered on the streets in Iran, including President Masoud Pezeshkian. But this rally too was rocked by a powerful explosion, reportedly killing at least 1 woman. An angry Tehran has now warned that its enemies will be forced to recognize the power of the Iranian people. But messaging from the United States is intriguing and conflicting. Just 24 hours after U.S. President Donald Trump told G7 leaders that Iran may be close to surrender, came a defiant response. Iran's new supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, in his first public message since taking charge, vowed revenge. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, however, claimed that Mujtaba is wounded and likely disfigured. No wonder it was a written statement that was released. No audio, no video.
ایران مشکلش اینه که عقلش نمیرسه. ملت ایران ملت رشیده، ملت قویه، ملت با اراده. هرچی اون فشار بیاره اراده ملت قوی‌تر میشه. این حمله هایی که میکنه از ترسه، از استیصاله. کسی که قوی باشه وسط تظاهرات بمباران نمیکنه. معلومه کم آورده.
We know the new so-called not-so-supreme leader is wounded and likely disfigured. Why a written statement? I think you know why. His father, dead. He's scared, he's injured, he's on the run, and he lacks legitimacy. It's a mess for them. Who's in charge? Iran may not even know.
Amidst the escalating confrontation in the Middle East, India is busy working on its own battle plan to deal with a looming energy emergency. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken to Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. For the first time since the conflict intensified, the Prime Minister made it clear that India's top priorities remain the safety of Indian citizens and stability in energy supplies. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has once again spoken to Iran's foreign minister, the 3rd time that he's done so in the last few days, and the 4th since the war began. This sustained diplomatic engagement at the highest level has ensured that India maintains a careful balance, staying engaged with Israel, with Iran and key Gulf partners without taking sides in this conflict. It is perhaps this calibrated positioning that has led defense and strategic affairs experts to believe that India could emerge as a credible voice for de-escalation.
I think you have to find an intermediary, first of all, someone who is not part of the problem. My personal preference, if I were advising the president, is to call Prime Minister Modi in India.
We have a good relation with the government of India, and all high-ranking officials talked yesterday with the Indian government and high-ranking officials. We tried our best to remove the problems, and I think that you can see in the near future good news in this case.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also said that this is not the first time India is facing a global crisis. The Prime Minister said that with unity and decisive action, the country will overcome this situation too, just like the country faced the challenge of COVID. In the latest interministerial briefing, the overarching message has been plans are in place and there is no need to panic.
Domestic production of LPG has increased by 30% today. हमारी रिफाइनरीज के अंदर 5 मार्च की तुलना में आज 30% अधिक LPG का उत्पादन हो रहा है. Commercial cylinders have been put at the disposal of state government for priority distribution.
But panic induced by uncertainty has proven to be unavoidable. Commercial LPG supplies have taken a hit. Restaurants have either trimmed menus or shut down in some places. There are long queues outside gas agencies, and the opposition parties are taking to the streets to accuse the government of inaction. Opposition MPs continued their protests in the Parliament complex even today, raising slogans to demand answers from the Petroleum Minister and Prime Minister, blaming inaction for LPG cylinder shortages. Refuting the claims, the BJP said that such reports were emerging only from states ruled by these opposition parties. The BJP claimed that Karnataka was the first state from where reports of LPG shortages surfaced, followed by West Bengal, and alleged that Samajwadi Party leaders in Uttar Pradesh were found hoarding LPG cylinders. BJP MP Nishikant Dubey pulled out a report from 1974 and challenged the Congress party to show its track record of what exactly was done under their rule to tackle India's energy requirement.
अगर समाजवादी पार्टी के नेता के यहां से 50-60 गैस का सिलेंडर निकल रहा है तो मैं विपक्षी पार्टियों से एक अपील जरूर करूंगा अपने राजनीतिक हितों के लिए जनता को परेशान न करें और गैस सिलेंडर की ब्लैक मार्केटिंग न करें और करवाएं।
1974 में आर वेंकट रमन जो इस देश के राष्ट्रपति बने 1970 से लेकर 74 तक की रिपोर्ट तैयार की गई। इस रिपोर्ट में कहा गया कि न्यूक्लियर फैसिलिटी डेवलप होनी चाहिए। इस रिपोर्ट में कहा गया कि रेलवे का इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन होना चाहिए। इस रिपोर्ट में कहा गया कि कोल गैसिफिकेशन होना चाहिए। इस रिपोर्ट में कहा गया कि हाइडल पावर जो है वो बढ़ना चाहिए। रिपोर्ट में है। कांग्रेस को मैं चैलेंज करता हूं राहुल गांधी को कि 40 साल में 1974 से लेके 2014 तक इसमें से कौन सी चीजें इंप्लीमेंट की तुमने?
साइकोलॉजिकली नरेंद्र मोदी खत्म है। तो अब नरेंद्र मोदी जी हिंदुस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री नहीं रहे हैं। वो अब अमेरिका का काम कर रहे हैं।
एलपीजी लिक्विड पेट्रोलियम गैस, लेकिन इधर जो लोगों ने नई परिभाषा दे दी है कि लापता गैस।
The Congress now wants that Parliament should pass an obituary reference for Iran's former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Senior Congress leader Jairam Ramesh has asked why neither the Prime Minister nor the External Affairs Minister has issued a strong public statement, and why has the Parliament not yet paid any tribute to the late leader. Several India bloc leaders have backed the demand, calling for India to condemn the killing and formally record its position in Parliament.
So we need to understand that the Iran supreme leaders murder, attack by the American and the Israeli forces, we should have condemned it. The leadership elimination process which is followed by Americans is unacceptable to us, and therefore only we should be very clear that we should pass a condolence reference in the Parliament also on the late Khamenei's demise. We should not close everything for Mr. Trump's likes and dislikes.
It is the sincere duty of a country to make certain, statement on his death, because the head of a nation got killed.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight. As Modi Sarkar works hotlines to secure India's interest, is the opposition busy serving its own interest? That's the question, and that's the debate on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate tonight with me, Tuhin Sinha, national spokesperson of the BJP in the studios. Welcome, Tuhin, to our studios. Also joining the debate, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, senior fellow at the IPCS. Suhail Seth, marketing guru, columnist. Also joining the debate, Tausif Rahman, national spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress. Advocate Anmol Pawar, national spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. But my first question goes to Congress leader and my friend, Dr. Sanjay Jha. Dr. Sanjay Jha, once again, same question. And this time, the variety in the opposition is, why is the Prime Minister out for election campaigns? Well, Rahul Gandhi is out too. In fact, Rahul Gandhi was out attending a wedding. At least the Prime Minister is going for an election campaign. The issue here is, are we somehow trying to make the entire issue, the conflict in West Asia and the domestic politics that is arising out of that, into a non-serious issue just for some short-term gains and political brownie points? It is a tough situation. I don't think there is anybody in this world who would ever be able to deny the fact that there are problems. Of course there are problems. There are no ships that are coming. Of course, 2 of them have come from the Straits of Hormuz. Efforts to get more are underway. But this constant nitpicking, is it getting you any solutions?
Navika, good evening to you and to the panelists. Good to find Tuhin here. Tuhin is one of my friends in the BJP and one of the more reasonable spokespersons that I know of. So good to have Tuhin on the show. Let's bite the bullet on your question. I believe that what's happening in West Asia, call it Middle East, and the economic security, it's not just energy, I think it's economic security. The ramifications of an oil price disruption and hike is going to be felt by citizens in this country for a very long time. So let's not restrict the conversation to just oil prices or LPG for that matter. The truth is this, Navika, and let's bite the bullet. And I want to put this on your program because I think your viewers need to know the truth. And your program is popular, you're highly respected. Let's bite the bullet on this question. Why are we actually having this problem? And I'll tell you what the reason is. Nobody will say it because people are so scared of the Modi-Shah combine. I'm not. So let me put the cards on the table. Mr. Modi goes to Tel Aviv, Israel. 36 hours later, the war begins. And here is the truth. Here is the truth. Mr. Modi goes and in the parliament says Israel is fatherland and India is motherland. Okay. I think Mr. Modi owes the people of this country an apology, and I'll tell you why. Israel a fatherland? Benjamin Netanyahu is wanted. He's got an arrest warrant for committing genocide. He's a corrupt man. Israel is a colonizer. We fought against the colonizers, the British. And Mr. Modi calls the colonizers as fatherland? A man who's accused of genocide of 20,000 children, he says you're fatherland? I think this is an insult to everybody in this country who are alive today. It's an insult to Mahatma Gandhi. It's an insult to Sardar Patel. It's an insult to Baba Ambedkar. It's an insult, I think, to Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. It's even an insult to Shama Prasad Mukherjee and Vinayak Savarkar. These are people who fought for nationalism.
What about Bhagat Singh?
The debate topic?
No. What about Bhagat Singh? What about the others?
All of them. All of them.
Okay.
And can you imagine an Indian Prime Minister goes and sells his soul, and because he's the Prime Minister, all of us inDia need to buy into the kind of foreign policy disaster that India has become? I mean, Mr. Seth, let me finish.
See,
please do not interrupt.
Do this purposely
Mr. Seth,
tell you how irritating it is when you interrupt.
Navika, you got to tell this guy.
I purposely did it.
Tell this guy.
I never interrupted you,
He's
but
nervous.
No.
Okay, Suhail. Okay, Suhail. The debate hasn't even begun. And Sanjay Jha, who was supposed to give us the entire economic ramifications, has right now only reached Sardar Patel, Mahatma Gandhi, and Shama Prasad Mukherjee. Hasn't given us any of the economic ramifications. But Tuhin Sinha, the questions here is, and let me ask the questions straight off the bat. Number one, the Prime Minister's visit to Israel a day and a half before the war began. Questions have been raised about it. Number two, why have we not condemned the military action and the obituary reference to Ayatollah Khamenei, two issues that have been raised by the opposition? And number three, what are we going to do about the economic fallout as crude oil breaches the $100 mark for the second time?
Well, good evening, Navika ji. Good evening, everybody. Let me address each one of these questions very specifically. First of all, I'm glad Sanjay, is experiencing some pain, some respect for Savarkar, which unfortunately his party does not have. So I must congratulate him for that. Now, the point is, but on the other hand, he continues, please don't barge in now, please don't, I need to address serious issues over here because, like Rahul Gandhi, you have only misled people through your absurd reference to Prime Minister's Israel trip. The Prime Minister Modi's Israel trip had been pending for some time. In fact, please don't barge in now. In fact, the trip, the war, we have a report which says the war was supposed to start 5 days before. It got postponed because of the trip. But anyway, that's a separate point altogether. Why are we facing this LNG crisis? We are facing the LNG crisis because, the certain LNG manufacturing well in Qatar has been attacked by Iran. Are we responsible for that? We are not facing an LPG crisis. In fact, the LPG production has been ramped up by 30% in the last 6 days. We are not facing a CNG crisis. We are not facing a PNG crisis. So first of all, no household is at any risk of not receiving cylinders, if at all. There have been minor glitches. It is only because of the supply side effect, which will be sorted in the next couple of days because of the ramped up production. So I think Congress needs to get its point clear. Number two, please understand that, from the UPA era virtue signaling non-alignment to the calibrated nation-first multi-alignment, India has come a long way in the last 11 years. Prime Minister Modi is one of the rare leaders, or perhaps the only leader, who can speak to both of the warring sides with equal elan. He can emphasize the need for peace, for de-escalation, and enjoy the kind of trust which no other world leader does. And that is precisely the reason why you will see in the next few days all our ships, all our tankers stranded in the Strait of Hormuz will arrive on the Indian coast.
Well, but we keep our fingers crossed for that because we are in a war situation.
One final point.
We are in a war situation and we do hope what you say actually happens, but we must keep our fingers crossed. But let me fact check Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, what did Modi say and what have you interpreted it as? The Prime Minister said, today a vibrant Indian origin Jewish community lives here. They hold firmly that Israel is their fatherland and India their motherland. What did you turn and make it out to be, Sanjay Jha? Honesty in reproducing what the Prime Minister has said is the least we expect from you because you're not a regular run-of-the-mill election wala neta with a topi. You're an erudite man. When you are economical with the truth, Sanjay Jha, really, you should be called out.
Navika, let me just make one point, okay? Netanyahu is a war criminal. Mr. Modi legitimized him. And that's exactly what Netanyahu wanted. He gets a fake medal in parliament. And we legitimize Netanyahu's war, which is
Israel and India have been friends even before Prime Minister Modi came to power. And let's not begin to now reinvent the wheel, Sanjay Jha. And let me get in Suhail said. Suhail said, Sanjay Jha is opposed to Narendra Modi. Well, no prizes for guessing why, and it's not even headline news. We know We know they come from the opposite sides of the political spectrum and they're very legitimately raising questions. But should questions be raised on the basis of facts, or should questions be raised on the basis of their opinion, their ideology on how they want to see the world versus what the real situation is at the moment?
So Sanjay fired 3 bullets, none of which he bit. I will fire just one. I'm not interested in analyzing Sanjay Jha's mind and his opinion. It's entirely his, and he's entitled to it. Whether he's economical with the truth or not is something for Times Now to consider, and therefore decide whether he or whatever he says or his opinions are actually factually relevant or contextual to the debate. That's between Times Now and Sanjay Jha. Now
what are you doing on the debate, Sohail said then?
No, I'm supposed to address the topic, which I will do without being Bernard Shaw and giving you an essay or a preface. 3 things have happened. A, it is not a war of our making. It's a war that has been thrust upon the entire world, in which there are major players who are responsible for energy security. The fact that India imports 80 to 90% of its energy supplies is not something that happened yesterday. We were a bit, to my mind, irresponsible in shoring up our energy security since 1950. I'm not going to be stupid to say, oh, Nehru is to blame, someone is to blame. We are to blame as a people. Number 2, Sanjay very rightly mentioned there are queues. Let's not beat around the bush. Go around, people are queuing up, people are panicking, people are worried. But what is the leaders, what is the opposition doing? Opposition, to my mind, at this moment, should also be on the side of the government, not in terms of opinion. They should also say that please stop panicking. Their point is get the Prime Minister to Parliament, but then most of the time Parliament doesn't function. So even if the Prime Minister comes, it's a non sequitur. Third, let me tell you, and all the panelists here will hopefully agree, this problem is not going to go away in a hurry. You all have seen what has happened today in Dubai. The Dubai International Financial Center has been hit. This is something which is, and one point where I agree with Sanjay, it is not energy security alone. They are recalibrating the economics of the world, not just economics of the Middle East or the MENA region. So here's what I suggest. The government and the opposition need to come together precisely because of what you mentioned in your opening remarks. It is a national emergency, whether we like it or not. Number 2, there is no point saying how many days supply we have, how many days we don't. I think the one good thing that the government did, or whoever did, I don't know, is by curbing or curtailing the cylinder supply, the LPG supply to commercial establishments. See, domestic consumption can't be sacrificed. It will create havoc. Where we can pinch pennies, we will. Tuhin Sinha rightly mentioned that in the last 6 days, we've ramped up our production by 30%. That you will start seeing 5 days hence. It will not happen overnight that you will suddenly see. But here's my final point. We, the people, are to blame. By nature, we are hoarders. If there is a situation worth panicking, we will be the first to panic. You saw what happened during COVID. People were hoarding. The rich were hoarding all essential supplies, whether it's bread, milk, eggs. We have to become more responsible, and we have to ensure the weakest link is looked after because they have nowhere to go. Some politicians said, oh, people are looking at wood. Induction stoves are out of the market. We are facing a crisis. By the way, and I don't know if Sanjay knows this or Tuhin knows this, Europe is down. EU, the entire Europe is down to 60 days supplies of gas. And many countries, which Abhijit will bear me out, in that are major gas suppliers or gas providers. So we are facing an international crisis. When faced with an international crisis, divisiveness of Indian politics needs to take a sidestep. That's my only issue. I'm not for a moment saying do not target the Prime Minister, do not target the BJP, target everyone. But sometimes come together for the sake of India and for the sake of Indians.
Tausif Rehman, that is the question. Because if you look at the situation, I mean, it's nobody's case right now that we are not facing an emergency situation. Of course there is an emergency. 14 days into a war from the energy basin of the world, of course Of course, we have our back to the wall because 90% our dependence is on imports. But look at what has happened. China, a country that has a free pass to get its ships out of the Straits of Hormuz, has had the highest fuel price hike in the last 4 years. China, that country has had no problems in its supply chain, and that was a political point that was being made in the last day or two. Well, New Zealand has hiked its prices, has gone down to releasing emergency oil reserves. Australia has relaxed supply pressure with the quality norms. Japan has released its emergency oil. India is still holding out. India is still holding out. It has the reserves. It is trying to get its ships out. The Prime Minister, the Foreign Affairs Minister talking to their counterparts, trying to secure the energy supplies. And there is, for now, no price revision. I mean, let's just take a deep breath and find a solution to the problems, give strategic advice, but stop panicking the armed janta of the country. Is that something that we can expect from the opposition?
Thank you, Navika, and good evening to everyone. Well, I heard Sohail Bhai, I heard Tuhin, I heard Sanjay Jha as well. And of course, the kind of explanation you have given can make people satisfied. But again, Navika ji, we are not in Europe right now, where everyone gets their rights. So you want us to be reasonable? Not you, but the BJP want us to be very reasonable. Okay, fine. But how do you want us to believe this? I mean, the petroleum minister says cylinder will be delivered in 2.5 days. 2.5 days. Tell that to the family rationing this last cylinder, Navika ji. Tell that to the restaurants that have been shut for days. Tell that to the crematoriums in Pune that cannot function. I mean, this government has one default setting. Lie first, deny second, form a committee third. So, I mean, the crisis does not exist because they say it does not exist. The queues are not real because they refuse to see them. This is not incompetence anymore, Navika ji. This is why I like your show, where I'm able to speak out when no one is coming and telling me, "Kya kyun bakwas kar rahe?" Arey, we are facing the poor people. They're on the street. You cannot give them explanation about kya hua, kaise hua. No, we need it right now. Why this happened? This is contempt. Contempt for the people.
Was running the country, what would your solution be? No. I appreciate what you're saying. I'm just saying, since you're a bright human being, I've known Mamta for years. What would your solution be? Aap solution bolo na. You may have a brighter solution.
Since childhood, I've been reading your articles. Okay, being a Calcutta boy, I've been reading your articles and I really respect.
That's so sweet of you, and I'm
But this is about contempt. Contempt for the people. They are supposed to serve and contempt, sir.
Absolutely.
So, solution. What is the solution, Tausif bhai? What is the solution?
I agree with you, my friend.
Okay.
बेगानी शादी में अब्दुल्ला दीवाना बनने का जरूरत था आपको, sir? Why were you there?
Yeah.
What is there we have to do with Israelis? What is there we have to do with the Iranis? I don't care about the Muslims staying in Iran. I care about the Hindus staying in India. I care about the Muslims staying in India. Why are we going and having a gala party with all these people? I don't understand why Trump is behaving like the Indian Prime Minister more than Narendra Modi.
Well, only because if you keep good relations with countries, when you are in a crisis, you can pick up the phone and call them and ask for a free passage for your ships. Elementary, my dear Watson, but obviously that will not convince you. Tuhin Sinha, please respond. Queues are real. 2.5 days is fabricated, says the opposition. Please convince them.
Again, my friend from TMC needs to understand the difference between LPG and LNG. No household consumer will be affected. You know, the present glitches that you are witnessing, as Suhail also tried to explain, is because of the supply backlog, because, you know, this 30% ramping up will show in the next few days, which could be maximum 3 to 4 days, not beyond that. Not beyond that. So, you know, the commercial, you know, restaurants that you are talking about, they might, you know, they might, you know, take a few more days, but not a single household is going to suffer beyond the next 3 days. That's point number one. Point number two, if the previous Congress governments had been hypocritical in being unfair to Israel, we corrected that. Point is, Sanjay, I think Sanjay asked this question, why did we only, pay a bureaucratic condolence to Khamenei? Congress has the option of putting up Khamenei's picture alongside Nehru. But the point is, we are treading a very fine balance, which the Congress party has not been able to understand. Yes, we paid a bureaucratic condolence because we consciously are not taking a political position on the issue. India's only priority right now is to safeguard Indians stuck in the Gulf and to safeguard our economic interests against stuck in the Gulf.
America-Israel axis. Don't lie, you are part of the America-Israel axis. And Navika,
what is he talking?
And I want to make a point.
Is that the reason why Iran would appreciate our peace gesture yesterday?
May I just inform you?
Iran would
may I just inform you that Mohammad Fatali, the Iranian ambassador to India, has just said that India is a friend, and you will see in the next few hours we will work out the passage of Indian fuel-laden ships to sail from the Straits of Hormuz. Sanjay Jha, take a deep breath. It is a tough situation. The lines are being worked. Solutions are being found. Is it a bit like Saas Bahu serial where you always have to find fault with the government?
Navika, you started by showing a clip of Tucker Carlson. I saw that. You watched that entire interview, and guess what Tucker Carlson says? He says the reason why Iran is under siege and attack by Israel and by America is on account of Epstein files. How come India was not aware of this? Are we compromised? The second question, do we realize at the moment that around 50 billion of remittances come from the Middle East? Was Mr. Modi not aware? You're backing Israel in this war. Can you imagine how many homes in India are going to suffer because people are losing jobs in the Middle East? We are not even talking about that. The number of migrants who are losing jobs in the Middle East, they can't remit that money back home. And number of families.
Sanjay Jha, which part of the world geopolitical situation don't you understand? India did not start the war. Yes, India is paying the price of the war, but Abhijit Iyer Mitra, when Sanjay Jha makes this wide-eyed, innocent appeal and a cry, what do you want to tell him? Because he's almost blaming as if Modi is the one who started the war.
No, we never. So, Navika, we should be very kind to Sanjay because,
one
Sanjay,
at a time, Suhail. I can't hear you. One at a time.
So
I'll come to you.
Sanjay is a very smart guy, but he can't avoid the Goebbelsian, ethos of the Congress. After all, the party president's grandfather literally marched into Russia with the Wehrmacht, with Army Group Center, which was responsible for some of the worst massacres of the war. Pouring kerosene on Soviet army soldiers and torching them alive, running them over with tanks after they had surrendered, bayoneting pregnant Jewish women in the Biyar massacre and then burying them alive and things like that. This comes very naturally to a party whose leader was whose grandfather was in the Wehrmacht and was complicit in some of Hitler's worst crimes. So they really shouldn't be talking about meeting a war criminal, anything to do with war crimes or anything like that. Let us come to the gas situation. I think the BJP is to be blamed to an extent in that their PR is terrible. They are taking all the right steps, but they are failing spectacularly at communication, which is a chronic recurring problem with this party. Now, let us be very clear. Why are shortages happening? There is actually no shortage of gas. The 28% increase that the minister has ordered in the production of gas is precisely to compensate for the hoarding that is happening. Let me remind you, 56 tanks of which were found from a SP politician's house. Let us also not forget during COVID, when oxygen hoarding was happened, there was a Congress politician who very surprisingly, when the rest of us were not getting oxygen, he had access to huge quantities of oxygen cylinders, which he made a career on Twitter, going around becoming Garibon ka Messiah or whatever. Okay, this is a standard practice out there. If you remember, in Vajpayee's time, they actually won the Delhi election by hoarding onions. And they never, the BJP never won Delhi back for a long time after that. So this is chronic, like the Goebbels and the Wehrmacht and Hitler and all of that. This is also pathological with the Congress. Fourth, we need to remember what is happening out here. You look at ever since statistics on famines, shortages, drought started. We know the problem in India hasn't been a shortage of grains. It has not been a shortage of gas. It has always been a shortage of supply. Inadequacy of supply has always been the killer. Right now you have a hoarding problem. You look historically at all oil and gas crises. The spike lasts for about 10, 12, maximum 15 days, and then the market rationalizes and it evens out, except in 1973, which was a concerted oil embargo by the Arab countries. This is not an oil embargo. This is a very different ball game. We can see the ships. We're tracking those ships on OSINT. There is gas coming in from Russia that we can see. There are at least about 6 ships that we've tracked so far coming in. Now, what else do you want us to do?
Yes, people are suffering. Tausif bhai, I agree with you. In the short run, people are suffering.
Nobody is saying they're not
suffering. But if we were to hoard less, we would not suffer. And therefore, it's important that politicians educate the people of India rather than spreading panic. That's exactly the point.
Tawfiq is too young. He wasn't born then in Calcutta when there were floods. People used to hoard Alazone tablets. Ask Tawfiq. His parents will remember. We are a nation of hoarders. And I'll tell you one thing. We accept that. We are a nation of hoarders. Sometimes we need to introspect. You know, Sanjay made a point about economic security. By hoarding, we are threatening economic security. Let me tell you one last point before the other gentleman comes in. Do you know induction plates in Gurgaon, a 2,000 rupee induction plate is being sold for 15,000? Some induction plates are being rented by the hour for 200 rupees. Aap mere ko bolo, is there an induction plate shortage? You have created panic and hawa by doing all this kind of nonsense. And then you want to blame the government? We are responsible in some cases. And finally, Sanjay, while I agree with some of the stuff that you've said, it is not a war of our making. Let's imagine, Sanjay, let's be real, be honest on this. Let's imagine Narendra Modi had not gone to Israel. You think Trump wouldn't have attacked? You think this war wouldn't have happened? This war would have happened. The war happened because of some of the points that you made, and the war happened because Israel believes that it needs to safeguard its sovereign rights. You and I aren't the people who have made that war. The war has been thrust upon the world, not only upon India.
In fact, it is Zelensky. In fact, it is Zelensky today who is saying that US, while supporting Ukraine by removing the sanctions on Russian oil, is financing Russia in the war against Ukraine. I mean, geopolitics has turned on its head over the last 2 weeks, and Anmol Pawar, I just want to ask you, instead of looking at a complex situation, instead of looking at easing the situation, not for Modi, not for the BJP, but for the people of India, by educating them that there is nothing to panic at the moment, because the more panic that we spread, the more we make a worse situation for India itself. Why is the opposition making a bad situation worse?
Good evening, Navika ji. Navika ji, the government is claiming that the situation is normal, that there's no LPG shortage and they have enough crude oil. I just want to ask a few questions. If the situation is normal, then why is it that the price of LPG was hiked to ₹60? Why are we seeing long queues outside the gas agencies, which even police is finding it hard to manage? Why is it that today government said that the waiting period for the LPG booking in urban areas has been increased from 21 to 25 days and in rural areas from 25 to 45 days? Why is it that if everything is under control, that the government has directed Coal India to activate alternate fuel options? Why is it that hundreds of hotels and restaurants and industries are being forced to shut down? And instead of accepting their failure, today the Prime Minister is saying that the opposition is spreading panic. Let me say it very unequivocally. It's not the opposition which is spreading panic. You are spreading panic because you are spreading lies. Because news are planted through sources और वो चलाई जाती हैं लगातार, and when they are confronted, when the government is confronted, whether there's any ounce of truth in that news which are planted through sources, वो उसे confirm नहीं करते. The main reason of panic is because the people of this country no longer trust Modi government. The Modi government has lost the trust. That's why इनकी बातों पे कोई विश्वास नहीं कर रहा. And most importantly, Navika ji,
France and Italy are talking to Iran for safe passage of ships. India is talking to Iran for safe passage of ships. The world and the alliances as we knew them do not exist anymore. But all they can do is find fault with Modi. Abhijit has been raising his hand. I'll come to you, Abhijit, Tuhin. After that, all the other answers. Abhijit.
Sorry, me first, no?
Yeah. Yes.
So I'm glad the AAP spokesperson raised these points, very important points. 2019 National Restaurant Association of India survey. Why is it 45 in rural areas? Do you know 4 out of 5 restaurants in India are unlicensed, unregistered and operate on domestic gas. They do not operate on commercial gas. Much more so in the villages where UPI is much less and therefore you can't control misuse. It is also in villages. I think all of us know that cylinders jab ghar pe aate hain, it is not that when you get empty, technically only when they get empty will you get your second cylinder. Everybody knows that in India you can basically bribe your way around anything and get as many cylinders as you want whenever you want. The issue is not one of supply. Let me restate this. It is one of hoarding and an artificial supply. By the 1st, this campaign started on the 28th. By the night of the 1st, there were already WhatsApp messages saying shortage, 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 shortage. I can
And there have been raids. People have been caught for black marketing, hoarding. It all happens. It's a normal thing. Yeah, but Tuhin Sinha, could we have planned this better? Could we have preempted something? That's the question being asked.
In a black swan event, the least the opposition should do, the opposition should do is behave like a black sheep. The point is, has the Samajwadi Party leader Abdul Rahman, who has been stockpiling and hoarding cylinders, has he been sacked? No, he has not been sacked. Was AAP MLA Imran Hussain, who was hoarding oxygen cylinders during COVID, was he sacked? No, he was not sacked. So that shows the seriousness of these political parties. Number 2, let me, since we are probably coming to the end of the show, let me also respond to Sanjay. My friend Sanjay has suffered with logic for the last few years, but today I think that struggle has been, I found it to be very acute, because he almost seemed to suggest that Iran has bombed so many places in the Gulf, in West Asia, only because of Prime Minister's visit to Israel. This is bizarre. And I think it will get more bizarre from here. Finally, let me again assure you, we have been constantly engaged with, our foreign minister has been constantly engaged with the Iran foreign minister. We don't want to, we need not over-verbalize things. We don't need to provide a running commentary like Congress wants us to do, because many things are happening simultaneously, also in a discreet manner, through back channel talks, which the Congress will not be able to understand. But let me just take 10 more seconds to tell you, look at how Rahul Gandhi is treated by world leaders. After he falsely attributed certain statements to Macron over the Rafale deal, today in the last 8 years, President Macron has come to India 4 times, but he has not met Rahul. So please don't, mess around again and create a bad name for the country.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, all I have to say on this entire issue is it's an unfolding situation. It is a situation that is grave simply because wars are not supposed to be comfortable for the world at large. We are facing dire situations, consequences of this war. How do we walk this out of this situation? It's not a war of our making. We need to keep Indians and Indian diaspora safe in the Gulf countries. We also need to keep Indians in Israel and other places safe. But we have a challenge as far as energy security is concerned. We have to walk the tightrope. There is no option but to do that. In the middle of that, if we would have a fewer hurdles being put there by the opposition, it would probably be better for the country, not necessarily for Prime Minister Modi alone. But will the opposition be mature and understand that rather than pushing the envelope that could jeopardize a situation? I don't think anybody in this world has a formula on how to get out of this. The US did not bargain for this fight back from Iran. They're looking for a face saver. Iran is looking at how to push US back. In the middle of all of this, can we stop putting landmines for ourselves? That would really be the least we can expect from politicians in our country. We leave it at that. Thank you very much to all my panelists for joining me on the Newshour tonight.